We are back at it with part two of Breakdancing Dad. Now, this guy was paying an insane amount of child support, and I want to. Another reason why I wanted to talk about this is to give people advice, men out there. If you live in the United States like this man, be incredibly, ridiculously careful who you have children with because you can get annihilated by child support. The amount that this guy paid and other people pay is so disgustingly enormous and ridiculous. It's just crippling. It's devastating. It puts people in a situation where they can't ever progress in their life. It just drags them down. It puts them into debt. It crushes them. The amount that of child support that people have to pay in the United States, it's gross. Obviously, the courts are doing it because they just take a cut off the top, right? The government just gets a cut, a percentage when that child support payment like kind of like transfers over. No matter what country it is, the government's taking a cut. So fundamentally, child support is pretty gross and bad for children because of that outright. But also, it's just incredibly large in the United States. I live in Canada, and in my country and in most countries, they there's like a minimum and maximum that's way lower than it is in the United States. And like basically the way it works, if you lived in Canada, you would have to go to court for this is how you would pay child support. You would have to go to court and lose custody. The other party would have to get full custody, and then you would have to pay them child support. Does and It doesn't matter how much either party makes at all, right? I mean, obviously it does in the sense like if you like own a home and all these resources, you have benefits, all these things like that you can provide for a child, you're more likely to win custody, right? But if you lose and you have to pay child support, it's only based off like how often you see the children, which is based off like the custody arrangement. So you would have to lose custody in court, which means that the other party, unless they make like literally no money, they don't qualify for legal aid, is what they call it here. It's like you're not getting a lawyer unless you are dead broke. If you make even like minimum wage, you are not going to get a free lawyer. So you're going to have to spend like over $50,000 for sure just to even get the child support because you're going to have to pay for a lawyer and win custody in court, right? Which you're just not going to be able to do without a lawyer. So you're paying 50 grand plus, but the child support maximum unless the person's making like 300,000 a year or more, then that like even if that was the case, right? Even if the person was making let's say 300,000 exactly, the maximum child support payment, what is that going to do? It wouldn't even cover your bills, right? Like it's not even you're never actually getting ahead. Yeah, maybe 300,000. I would say that's kind of the cutoff. Any there or higher, then the child support payments, like receiving them, the party receiving them would be getting ahead, right? Because it actually would cover all of the costs associated, right? Because when you win custody, you're taking on all of the financial responsibility. So you receiving that money makes sense, but it mathematically it doesn't make sense as like a value proposition. You aren't getting ahead by receiving child support. You're actually getting behind because you have the financial responsibility. Like not only are you taking on the physical responsibility for being like the primary parent of the child, but you're taking on the financial burden. So even receiving the child support, you're actually getting behind. Whereas the parent who is paying the child support, who doesn't have that financial burden, financially they're ahead. They're always going to be. They're going to be. They're, and because it's a thing that happens over time, they're ahead and they're getting more ahead, right? Because they're a lot of people can't conceptualize this, and a lot of men get very defeated, and they make their whole life about like hating their ex because they have to pay this child support. But what they're not understanding is the basic math of it shakes out to be that the parent paying child support is actually in a financially way better position, right? Because like the costs outweigh what the child support would be, unless you make over $300,000 a year, which is a very low percentage of people in Canada, right? So for almost any Canadian or anyone who lives in a country with a similar setup, like seriously, you yourself crunch the numbers, you'll see it is like way better to be paying child support than it is to be receiving it. Mathematically, just the numbers of it, the money. And people need to understand that, because then it will prevent them from living in this like bitterness, right? Like, yeah, I absolutely understand. You should have bitterness towards your ex who's keeping your child from you. But, I mean, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Mathematically, if you're paying child support in Canada, in the States, though, whole other ballpark. It's crazy in the States. I think in Canada, they need to change the system as it pertains to the custody and being in the best interest of the child, and not just giving women the preferential treatment that they get. But it's not that wild. It's really actually way worse in the United States, which is weird. It's real weird when you think about it, but it's what it is. But in the States, they need to overhaul their entire system. Anything to do with custody and child support, they need to heavily rethink this, because this is demented. And it's so like, it's such a backwards way of thinking. Like in a lot of ways, women are out earning men. Women get more like college degrees than men. So why are these systems in place that screw over men and just give women a giant amount of money in America just because they have like a child? It's crazy. It's insane.
Then the kids and I went out for dinner, and we all had a great time as usual. I thought the fact that Betsy had invited me into her house for a glass of wine was good progress. I was encouraged. But now this saga has taken a more negative turn, and all the indicators point to my ex-wife, Betsy, as the manipulator, as the well poisoner. In every video that Maddie puts out, she says I abandoned the family. And none of my daughters are talking to me right now. Only my son Peter is talking to me. So I think I need to tell a more complete story. A story that the kids have never heard before. I have really two goals with this video. Number one, I think this information might help a lot of dads out there to avoid some of the mistakes that I've made. Whether you were recently divorced or not yet divorced. I say not yet divorced because about half of marriages end in divorce. And about 50% of married couples who are not yet divorced, well, their marriages are hanging by a thread. Goal number two, my kids have...
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video, is to like help people, stop people from making those exact mistakes. And those mistakes are living in that bitterness, being that guy who can't stop talking about his ex. You know, like the custody battle was 10 years ago, and they're still bringing it up, and they just can never not talk about their ex. And it's like, dude, it's over. Like, what does it matter at this point? Like, yeah, maybe you got screwed over. In the States, it's a lot more understandable, because you can get screwed over royally, and that's going to hurt for life. Really bad for the children, by the way. But if you don't, like, you really got to run the numbers individually and see, like, all right, how much is this really? Am I really getting screwed over here, or is the other party actually getting screwed over? Because a lot of times it's actually the other party that's getting screwed over. It's hard to conceptualize it. A lot of people really, really suck at math. Society sucks at math, trust me. I remember it throughout school. Like, people really, really struggle with math.
I've never heard the...
So I get how people like get so caught up in it, and like they just live in this like seething hatred. You don't need to. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I might have to one day pay child support. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Obviously, if I was in that situation, it would be very bad for my child in the sense that me and the other parent would have overall less money because the government would take a cut of that money. And then also, but mostly it would just be bad for the child because, I mean, I've wanted to be a parent my entire life. I can take great care of a child, and I own a house and everything. So obviously, it would be bad if, you know, from a raising the child standpoint.
The whole story of what happened. They've heard one side from their mom, Betsy, my ex-wife. And I think it's been a very distorted story and a very incomplete story. Now, I'm not going to get into all that led to the divorce, who cheated on who and who cheated first. Let's just say there were a lot of factors that created a very unstable marriage. And we can get into that later if Betsy wants to. But I'm just going to talk here about what happened after the separation in 2004 and the divorce in 2005, because I made every mistake possible. I basically did not protect myself legally at all. First off, I gave Betsy 97% of the family assets and left myself with 3%, which actually left me with zero because the 3% I had was quickly consumed by the lawyers. I did this because I knew I had a business and I could build back up. And of course, I wanted the kids to feel secure, to let them know that they would have nothing to worry about financially. And money is just not something I've ever been very concerned about. I knew I could always make money. At any rate, after I posted my first video in response to Maddie's video, Betsy wrote me a long text message full of invective, asking why I was using exaggerated numbers in terms of what I paid for alimony, child support, college costs, and the other costs over the years. Then I had this text conversation with my oldest daughter, Tori. I said,
I mean, if this guy's made millions of dollars and it's like a legal matter like this, he's clearly kept track of the numbers. Why wouldn't he? Like,
hey, Tori, give me a call when you get a chance. Tori answered, quote, hi, Dad, I love you, but not right now. It's time for me to cut off communication.
these kids are such shitheads. I mean, sorry, but they are total shitheads. Why are they believing their dumbass mom? Like, seriously, like, what is this? This is disgusting. This whole story is so disgusting. Like, come on. Like, what are you graduating from here? Why are you in a graduation outfit? Like, what? You can't think about the situation? You can't talk to your dad and analyze what actually happened and, like, run some numbers? Like, you assume he's just lying? Like, ask him. Say, Dad, pull up the numbers. He's going to pull up the numbers. That's probably what he's about to do in this video. Like, the dude's made a ton of money in his life. He's got the numbers. He's probably got them right in front of him right now. Like, like, it's also on the kids. I'm sorry, but you're an adult. You're an adult and you're going to treat your dad like shit based off the goofy lies of your mom, of your bitter mom. Like, come on.
The video you posted was full of lies and just dragging Mom and Maddie 20 years after the fact, and you're just letting that happen. I'm distancing myself for the time being.
What are you? Oh my God! Your daughters are morons! Just the biggest morons in the world! He's not, he stands up for his daughter, he's not dragging her at all! She made these videos dragging him! She's lying about him! You freaking goofy moron! Oh my God, woman! Like, what did you graduate from? Clown college? What is this?
End quote. I answered, quote, my video was not full of lies. Maddie posted an attack on me that my client saw. I had no choice but to answer.
Exactly. He's getting all these people hitting him up because of his clout chasing, armpit hair having daughter, desperate to become a TikTok star, is throwing her dad under the bus for clicks, for clout. So he's getting people hitting him up, being like, what's going on here? Are you really this scumbag your daughter's claiming you are? Like, your daughter slandered the hell out of your dad based off of the lies of your goofball mom. And then he just gives a pleasant response, just correcting the situation. That's all he did. Oh my god, this just gets worse. This just gets grosser. What the hell?
I asked Maddie to take her video down. She refused because it was going viral. I was trending on TikTok. I asked her to post my video on her feed, which is an accurate video. She liked my video, thought it was funny, but declined. So I posted it on my feed because everyone had seen Maddie's video. So I had to answer. I answered in the nicest, low-key way possible. But then I started thinking, what are all these supposed lies that Tori is talking about? Tori is a good person. She must think there are lies in my video. And Maddie has put up at least 4 videos now where she continues to say that I abandoned the family, which I believe that I've proven is not true at all. And the problem is my kids have no clue what the real story is.
Yeah, they clearly don't. This is oh man, this is painful. Just seeing these kids treat their dad like shit. My god.
Now what some people in the comments are saying is, why put all this on video for public viewing? Well, because the girls are not talking.
Yeah, ask the daughter. Ask the shithead daughter who did it.
Talking to me right now. And the only way to deliver information to them is to put it up on video. Now perhaps...
Yeah, like, not only did she, like, drag her dad like crazy, but she's refusing to talk to him to just, like, resolve the situation. And now the other shithead daughter's doing it. Like, it's even worse from the daughter who didn't make the video, who should realize how freaking insane it was for the other daughter to put up the video in the first place. The blonde daughter created the entire situation. You should be able to see it as the person, like, I could see how maybe the blonde daughter was so delusional in her own goofy head that she doesn't understand that she created this entire situation. But the other daughter should be able to see that. Should be like, hey, what you did here was shitty. Blame it on your stupid, goofy, armpit hair having daughter. Or sister, I mean. Like, come on.
perhaps the so-called lie that Tori is referring to, and that Betsy is referring to.
I feel like maybe this is a ploy. Oh man, I really hope this isn't the case, because this would be so scummy. That the mom and both of the daughters came up with a plan where we're going to shame this guy. We're going to blackmail this guy. That might be what's happening, is they're blackmailing him. They're like, you're going to give us a ton of money. You owe us more. You're a deadbeat. You owe us a ton of money. We're going to slander you until you give us this huge amount of money. Because we're owed it. Because we're your kids. Blah, blah, blah. And it could be this ploy from the mom and both of the daughters where they're like, we are going to blackmail this guy until he just gives us a ton of money. Right? Because a lot of these people, when they just leech off some guy, right? Their existence is just entirely dependent on leeching from this man. That they, once that gets cut off by them becoming adults, once the gravy train stops flowing, then they're like, oh no, we need more. We can't exist without this. You need to keep giving us money. Keep giving us money. Keep giving us money. And they come up with this plan. This is how we'll get money out of him. We'll just blackmail him. We'll just say he's a deadbeat. We'll slander him online. That I'm starting to think that's what's going on here. Is they're not just dumb shitheads. They're shitty shitheads. They're awful people. No matter what, they're awful people. Because if they're just dumb, it's not just that they're idiots. They're not just like unable to understand. They're refusing to understand. They're not giving it a second thought. They will not think about it. Right? Because it's not just like raw stupidity. It's concentrated stupidity. It's like a it's stupidity on purpose. It's like willing ignorance. But they might just be blackmailing him. That's kind of what I'm thinking at this point.
is the approximately $2 million lump sum that Betsy received at the end of the marriage, at the start of the divorce, and the $5 million total that she and the kids received in the ensuing years until each of the kids reached age 22. Now, these were estimates off the top of my head from memory. So I went back and reviewed the numbers, and it turns out that the real numbers are that I agreed to pay Betsy $1.8 million at the conclusion of the marriage, so $1.8 million at the start. However, I was $100,000 short of what I agreed to. More on that in a moment. And Betsy and the kids received a total of $4 million, a little bit more than $4 million, which includes the aforementioned $1.8 million and $618,000 for the kids' college funds and college costs. Below, I linked to a PDF of the accounting. This accounting comes directly from a 2016 court case, one of many court battles I was in with Betsy. And anyone is free to dispute this accounting, but I think it's pretty accurate. So Betsy and the kids received a little bit more than $4 million, not the $5 million that I had estimated from memory in the first video. So that's my error. Now, of course, the counter to this is the money is good and all, but it doesn't make up for not having a full-time dad in the home. But remember, I live just down the street from the kids in LaGrange, a bit more than a mile away. Then in 2011, we bought a house in Willowbrook, Illinois, which is an 8-minute drive away. Then in 2012, Betsy got remarried and moved about 1 hour north to a North Shore suburb. The kids were...
Yeah, I'm sure he's about to talk about it, but it's not his fault, right? Like, it's not his doing. He's purposely moving to live very close so he can spend more time with his kids. But the thing is that it's up to the mom to allow that. He can't do anything. It's either the mom decides to stop being a horrible, selfish piece of crap, stop neglecting her children and depriving them of a loving father. She can choose to be a good person, but she didn't. She chose to keep the kids from him as much as she reasonably could. That's not on him. That's on his loser ex-wife.
We're older by this point. Peter was in college. Tori was a senior in high school. Maddie was also in high school. Olivia was in middle school. I would make the 1 hour trip north at least once a week to see the kids, to see whoever wanted to hang out. Often that was just me and Peter hanging out. The girls typically wanted to hang with their friends. Teenage girls generally don't want to hang with their parents. They want to hang with their friends. But sometimes they would come out with me and Pete. And there really seemed to be no problem. Yes, there was 1 year when Tori would not come out and would not talk to me. That lasted a year. Then one day, Tori did come out. I said, "Great, you came out to lunch today, Tori. You haven't talked to me for a year. Has something changed?" She said, "No. 1 year of not talking to you is enough. Now I'm here." So I thought, cool, I've turned the corner with Tori. And it seems to have been 1,000% great with Tori ever since, for like the last 12 years or so. But here's the issue. Apparently they really do think that I abandoned the family. They think this because it took me more than 2 years to move to LaGrange, Illinois.
No, what I think it is that the moms poisoned them completely. Now, maybe they've gone to therapy or talked to people, and they realize that that people, like, I would say that children deserve the best, which is typically having like 2 parents in the home, right? And they'll blame all their issues on not having that. And for some reason, they blame you. They blame you, man. I don't know why. I don't know why you and your wife broke up. It seems like she was probably a horrible, horrible person. So, because you didn't abandon your family, you've done nothing wrong. You're absolutely not the bad guy in this situation at all. And it's probably not your fault that you and their mother didn't work out, but they blame you because you're probably a mature adult. You can tell that he's never really talked about this with his kids, probably because he wants to be a mature, respectful adult and not like dive into dive into how shitty their mother probably actually is, probably how shitty she was to him. So he doesn't want to get into that and like talk bad about the mom. So they don't know the real situation. They just see it as, oh, he just left, you know? And I don't think that's what happened. I don't know that that's not what happened, but I really feel like that's not what happened. Because why, if he just left, if he just abandoned the family, why is he moving to live so ridiculously close to them? Like, you know, and doing everything he can to spend time with them. It doesn't add up.
Illinois, where it could be just down the street. That's true. Maddie is right about that in a way. So let me go over the reasons why. And this is where the story really gets insane. Okay, so Betsy and I got separated in 2004, then divorced in 2005. Also, we were living in Virginia at that time, just outside of Washington, D.C. As part of the divorce agreement, I agreed to
You gotta go in more detail, man. You have to explain exactly what made this marriage crumble. Explain why you got married. Explain what made it crumble. What happened? Because those details are really important here, man. Because I'm sorry, but your ex-wife, she is slandering you to your kids, and they are buying it. So you have to give your full version of events, which actually stems from then, right? Because they're blaming that all the blame is falling on you, sir, in the minds of your dumb children who aren't understanding that the internet's looking at this situation and getting both sides, and they're unanimously siding with you, right? Which means you're so clearly not the bad guy here. You're in the right, but you have to prove to them that you're in the right. And very clearly and concisely, because even the internet unanimously explaining it to them that you're in the right, they still are refusing to see it. So we need more detail.
allow Betsy and the kids to move to the Chicago area. My plan was to follow Betsy and the kids there. This made quite a bit of sense because Betsy's family were there, and that's where Betsy is from. And I can work from anywhere. I'm a writer and a creative type. I create advertisements for a living. I can do that anywhere. So my plan was just to follow the kids from Virginia to Illinois. But I also agreed to just give Betsy essentially all the marital assets. I left the marriage with $0. Well, 3%. That became zero after paying all the lawyers. Now, of course, I agreed to all of this. And I told you, I made literally every mistake in a divorce that a guy can possibly make. I thought giving Betsy $1.8 million at the get-go and leaving myself with nothing would buy peace. Wow, was I wrong?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. Oh, my God. Such a miserable, horrible woman. What a piece of human trash. Oh, my God. He gives her over $1 million. Say 1.8 million? Just so it's like, all right, let's get this over and done with. Let's not go through the stress of dragging this out in court. Let's resolve things. Here's more money than you could ever need. Or enough money to where you can retire like 10 years earlier than you would. Or if not more. Right? Wow. Yeah, but she wants more. She just always wants more. They're blackmailing you, dude. They are blackmailing this guy. Oh my God, they're definitely blackmailing. I was unsure, but yeah, it's all about extracting more money from you. You've been generous. Oh man, generosity does not pay in these situations at all. Oh my God, yeah, you did do everything wrong. I see what you mean now, because then that sets you up to be, oh, well, I'm paying out money because that then sets the precedent that you should be paying money, right? Anyone in these situations, men who do not pay a dime unless a court tells you to, do not pay a dime, do not buy anything unless a court tells you to. All right, we'll cut this off and then we'll do a part 3. Maybe this will end up being 4 or 5 parts. Who knows? This is greasy as hell. This mother is disgusting.